This is a scary story about a doll that destroys an entire family. Watch until the end of the video. In a small town in Maine, there lived a family named Smith. The family consisted of a father, a mother, and a teenage daughter named Emily. One day, Emily found a strange doll at a flea market. The doll was strangely beautiful and scary at the same time, with glowing eyes that seemed to have a soul in them. Emily happily brought the doll home and put it in her room, but she soon realized that the doll was not only alive, but also possessed dark powers. At night, she would hear faint laughter and sometimes feel that the doll was looking at her. The father of the family, John, was a hardworking and reasonable man. He ignored the doll and warned Emily not to play with it, but the doll had other plans. She put John to sleep one stormy night and forced him to jump out the window. While he was asleep, John went to a nearby lake and drowned himself in it. The next morning, the family was in shock at his loss. The mother, Sarah, who now lived alone with Emily, was extremely worried about her daughter. She told Emily that they should throw the doll away, but Emily was so attached to it that she could not let it go. The doll approached Sarah and affected her in her sleep. It made her go out onto the road one rainy night and hit a moving car to her death. Sarah had an accident while crossing the road and lost her life. Now Emily was left alone and kept the doll in her room. She felt that the doll was getting closer to her and its power was increasing day by day. Emily decided to confront the doll and discover its secret. One dark night, Emily approaches the doll and tells her that she is no longer afraid of her. The doll says in a cold voice, "Your soul must be mine." Emily replies, "Never." At this moment, the doll attacks Emily and puts her to sleep. In her sleep, Emily is forced to witness the death of her parents, and eventually, the doll possesses her too and forces Emily to commit suicide with 12 stab wounds. After a while, the doll returns to the old market and waits for its next victim. Now the story of the Smith family has become a legend, and the doll continues to search for new victims, to possess their souls and create more scary stories. This story shows the power of darkness and the consequences of ignoring warnings. The possessed doll continues to hide in the shadows and waits to find its next victim. A teenager named Tommy lived in an old house. This house, which was famous for its age and the scary stories about it, was inherited by Tommy. He lived alone in this house without family and felt lonely because of his young age. Tommy soon noticed that he heard strange noises in his house at night. Sometimes he heard footsteps going up and down the stairs. He told himself that maybe these noises were destroying the house, but in his heart he knew that something unusual was going on here. One night, while Tommy was watching TV, the power went out. He went to the window in fear to look outside. At that moment, long white shadows appeared in his yard. Tommy looked carefully and realized that this shadow was a woman in a white dress slowly coming towards the entrance of the house. Tommy went to his room in terror and locked the door. He tried to sleep, but he heard a groan from outside. The groan turned into a scream, and Tommy realized that the sound was coming from his bedroom. He went to his bedroom with fear and horror and opened the door. There he saw a ghost woman sitting in the corner of the room. She was wearing a white shirt and her face was covered in black. Tommy, who was scared, asked her, "Who are you? Why are you here?" The ghost said while shedding tears, "I am Elizabeth. I lived in this house many years ago. I was the victim of a terrible accident, and my soul is trapped here. Every night I search for peace and freedom, but I can't leave here." Tommy, who was now a little less afraid, decided to help the ghost. He asked Elizabeth what help she needed. Elizabeth told him that he needed to uncover the secret of her death in order to find peace. Tommy began to research the history of Elizabeth's house and life. He spoke to the neighbors and learned that Elizabeth had mysteriously disappeared one stormy night and had never been found. He also heard that some people believed that Elizabeth's spirit was seeking revenge. By gathering information and evidence, Tommy came to the conclusion that Elizabeth had remained in this world because of this injustice. He decided to reveal the truth. With the help of his friends, Tommy organized a public meeting in the town and told the people Elizabeth's story. He presented the evidence he had collected and asked the people to honor Elizabeth's memory and the injustice that had been done to her. After this meeting, the people realized that Elizabeth was innocent and that her memory should be honored. The next night, Tommy heard the moaning again, but this time Elizabeth's voice was calmer and happier. She came to Tommy's room and said, "Thank you, I can go now." Tommy smiled and said, "I'm glad you can find peace." And just like that, Elizabeth's spirit slowly disappeared, smiling.